Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Daniel, and today in this video we'll be covering another chess.com training game I've played recently. So I was playing the white pieces, and let's take a look what happened. So I opened with d4, d4, d5, knight f6 here, c4, g6. So here in this position, my opponent can have to go for the Grunfeld with d5 and target white center, which white will potentially build. Or they can play bishop g7 and go into mainline King's Indian. So d6, knight f3, castles, bishop e2, all standard. Here knight c3, knight c6 isn't a common move. Typically e5 is played first, and then after d5, for example, then you play a move like a5 or knight a6, and then you put your knight on c5. However, here my opponent chose to play knight c6 first, and here after d5 and knight e5, this is actually a mistake. White's actually clearly better here. Simply because white has this really strong majority in the center, and this e5 pawn doesn't really serve anyone any good. Bishop e3, e6, here I castle, takes, knight e8, trying to play f5, so here I just simply play the move f3, and knight d6 here, taking control of this d6 square, which blockades this pawn on d5, here rook a to c1, f5, I play queen c2, simply providing more support to this e4 pawn, f4, bishop f2. Here g5, sorry, my opponent tries to attack on the king side. However, here I play the move knight b5, intending to swap off this really strong knight, which is the strongest piece in my opinion in black's position, and also attempting to target the c7 square. Knight takes, bishop takes, and here the only move to defend this pawn is to play rook f7. This is also another benefit, because after capturing with the bishop, and also in general c6, you can't actually do this because d takes, pawn takes, and while I simply have 3 attackers on this pawn, so I would simply be winning here. So rook f7, I bring in my other piece into the game, rook f to d1, and here my opponent plays h5, trying to counterattack on the king side with g4 and h4. However, here I find this really nice move d6. The idea with d6, and this is also sort of why I played rook f to d1, is I want to open up this diagonal where the rook is lined up with the king. So now I have this really nice move, bishop to c4 in the future, to pin this rook to the king. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's unstoppable at this point, because if you play bishop e6 to stop it, then you lose even harder with d captures on c7, attacking the queen. And after something like, let's say, queen to c8, then here there's like a move rook to d8, check, queen takes, and king take, and you can take with the pawn with check. And after rook takes, here you can see that, well, after like bishop to c4 and you trade the bishops, here you'll notice that like white is firstly completely winning, and they also have a queen for a rook. So going back, this isn't what happened in the game. In the game here, my opponent plays the move c6. Here I play bishop c4, pinning the rook to the king, and here g4 was played, trying to get some counterattack. And here I find a very nice move, queen b3. Bishop captures on f7 also works, I'm pretty sure, because after king takes, there is something like queen c4, or even the move d7, which I'd considered, because if bishop captures on d7, then queen b3 check. And after, let's say, something like king to f8, then here I can simply play, here I actually have bishop to c5 check, which probably leads to mate really shortly. And if you play the move king to g6, then here I can simply play queen captures on b7, attacking this bishop again. If this bishop moves, then I can simply capture the queen on d8, and if you play bishop c8, then here I can simply play something like queen captures on c6 to get out of the line of fire, and if you play queen f6 to block, then here I can simply play rook d6, which just pins the queen to the king, and this is completely winning for white. However, here queen b3 I think is better. The main reason is because well, this is cleaner in my opinion, because firstly, I'm threatening to win a full rook here in this case, whereas in the other variation with bishop captures on f7, that just is simply an exchange, which is still completely winning, but queen b3 threatens to basically win the whole rook, and actually, in fact, more, because if you actually defend this rook with queen to e8 or queen f8 or queen d7, then bishop captures on f7, queen captures on f7, here queen captures on f7, king captures on f7, and here you have to move d7. And here you'll notice that this bishop on c8 is actually completely trapped. This bishop never got a chance to move, and this pawn, all the way from d2, managed to get to d7 to trap it, which is quite funny. And here, bishop captures on d7, rook takes, king g6, and here you can simply capture on b7, and you're also still threatening the a7 pawn from this bishop on f2. This is completely winning, and you're also threatening probably like checkmate at some point with rook captures on c6, and you can probably trap the king. So here my opponent plays queen g5, going all in on the attack. Bishop captures on f7 with check. King to h7, and here I calculate correctly and play the move d7. Here, g3 looks really strong, but however, here you can actually play d8 equals queen. But let's say you play bishop captures on f7, bishop captures on d7 first, rook takes, which is what happened in the game, and here my opponent plays h4, which allowed me to play f captures on g4. Here, if you play g3, it looks really strong because you can get in with the queen. However, here there is a way to win. H takes, f takes, and bishop to e3. It looks like black is getting in. However, here there is the move bishop to g6 check. And even if you don't find that and you play queen captures on b7, you're still completely winning. Because after queen h7, king f1, and queen h1 check, it looks like you're going to lose after king to e2 and queen captures on g2. However, here you have the very nice move bishop to g1. Bishop all the way back to g1. And this bishop, this dark square bishop, simultaneously puts pressure on a7. There's these two, there's the rook and the queen, which are ready to barrel down on this lone bishop, which is defending the king. And this king is completely safe. There's no way to get to this king. Black's only way is to like loop around, and at which point you still aren't getting any entry squares because this e3 square is still controlled by the bishop. This rook controls this open file. Basically, there's no way that black can physically get to the king. So that's like the only real threat that black maybe has, which is really easily parried after bishop g1. So here my opponent plays h4. I just eliminate any chance of like g3. I just simply capture. And even though this ruins my pawn structure, I can play the move queen f3 here. And I notice that any square, any square that, wait, no, sorry, I didn't play queen f3. Sorry, I play rook c to d1 first. Queen f3, I believe, is still completely winning, even with this rook hanging, because after queen takes, you can play queen h5 check, bishop h6, and queen g6 check, and after king h8, you can play queen captures on h6. This I had missed in the game. However, just to be safe, I just played rook c to d1, doubling up on this d file, which is the only open file. I'm still threatening queen captures on b7. I can play queen f3, which I actually do end up playing. After rook f8, I play queen to f3 here. And I notice that there is no square that black can go to with the queen that doesn't end up with at least a forced queen trade, if not more. Here queen captures on f3 is best. After pawn takes, my pawn structure is fixed. This h4 pawn still threatened. And I mean, here I'm simply up like a rook and a bishop, so this is completely winning. And going back, queen g5 was the final move that my opponent played, at which point I just simply played queen h5 check, just simply trading off the queens to eliminate any threats in the position. I'm pretty sure after queen g5 I can probably continue the attack somehow, but just to be safe, I just played queen h5 check, and at which point here my opponent actually resigned, seeing as the queen trade is forced, and at which point here I'm up the rook as well as the bishop and completely winning this game. So a very nice 28 move victory in the King's Indian defense, or against the King's Indian defense, sorry, as the white pieces. I find I have like, I find I can play these positions really well because I generally know how to play these, like the plans against the King's Indian defense. And it was a very nice tactical win, also very nice positional spots, such as trading the very strong knight on d6 by playing knight to b5 and then targeting the c7 pawn with the queen, the rook, as well as any other pieces, and then bringing in the rook to open up the d file for the bishop. And also quite the funny thing with playing d7, because this bishop being trapped all the way here on c8 and this pawn managing to find a way to sneak through all the defenses and getting to the d7 square. So if you want to keep track of this d pawn, you can keep track of it and you'll slowly see him march forwards slowly. So now it's on d5, now it gets to d6, and here you'll slowly see it get to d7, at which point you win the bishop on c8, which actually never ended up moving. In fact, you can say for this game, black didn't use two of their pieces. They didn't use the rook or the bishop. None of those two pieces were used. Like this bishop and this rook, they never moved in this whole game. The only move that the bishop made was obviously to simply capture the pawn, but that was just simply to lose the piece. So basically black played this game down 8 points of material, and when they actually got to move it, they had to give up the material like forever pretty much. So that's quite funny. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed this game. I think this was a really nice game against the King's Indian defense, and hopefully you guys learned something from this. Thanks for watching.